Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Finance Committee of February 22nd, 2022 for 6:01 p.m. Our first order of business is approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve draft minutes of February 2nd, 2022 special finance meeting?
I move approval.
Motion made by Alder Wheeler. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, the motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve draft minutes of February 8th, 2022 finance meeting?
I move approval.
Okay, motion made by Alder Gerhardt. Discussion? No discussion. Do we have a motion to approve? Or, I think we've already done that. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll move on to number 3. Public appearances, non-agenda items. We have nobody in chambers or on Zoom. Moving on to item 4, the Finance Director report. I'll turn the floor over to our Finance Director, Misty Dodge. Go ahead.
Thank you. So at this point, we're still wrapping up the 2021 in preparation for the audit, which happens in 3 weeks. So countdown has begun. Other thing to remind you about is the ARPA TID closure investment plan. So those council proposed amendments were released last week. They're available on the city's website. And then tomorrow's committee of the whole meeting is when we will discuss all of those amendments. So come prepared to ask questions. The department heads that are affected will be available on Zoom if you do have questions for them. Otherwise, the intention is that council will discuss those and share your thoughts on them before we vote on each amendment the second meeting in March. That's all to a report.
Okay, very good. We'll move on to item 5, review of bills. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alder Gerhardt.
Okay, sorry. Misty, I was just curious, because we haven't discussed it yet, are we going to have similar debate rules for the final adoption of the amendments that we see during the budget or the CIP process, or are we going to do it a little bit differently when it comes down to it?
So those special rules really only apply at budget time. So during CIP, we don't have those same rules either. So I wasn't intending to impose them, but ultimately council at committee of the whole tomorrow, you could talk about whether or not you wanted me to draft something and I could draft it for action at that meeting too. Because it depends on what council wants to do.
I don't think it's necessary. I just was curious if I couldn't recall if we'd done it for CIP. So obviously I'm just thinking about budget because it's most recent. All right, thanks.
Yep.
Very good. Is there any other questions before I move on? Discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 5, review of bills. 5A, detailed review of checks for $10,000 and above for the period of February 1st through the 15th, 2022, totaling $141,154,000.68. Questions from the committee? Yes, Alder Gerhardt.
Thank you. I'm looking at the second page of the report, just about the insurance payout. Is that same crash that we were talking about back when we were trying to use the pay-in for the vehicle exchange? But was that the same incident?
Yes.
And does that close the incident then completely, or is it still open?
My understanding is it closes it. So this is the one that you guys had the closed session about to talk about what the settlement amount would be. So this is the final settlement as far as I understand.
Great, thanks.
Additional questions? Discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to 5B. Detailed review of all checks issued. Checks 123103 through 123168 for the period of February 1st through the 15th, 2022, totaling $239,545.16. Questions from the committee? Hearing none, seeing none, we will move on to action items. 6A. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-03-22, authorizing Dane County Services for stormwater permit review and inspection in 2022?
I move approval.
All right, motion made by Alder Wheeler. And who will speak to, Misty, will you speak to this evening?
Yeah, I can start it, and
Go
then
ahead.
Bill Bulkey is here to offer support if there's other questions. Ultimately, this is another one of those annual pre-approvals that we do. Dane County does the stormwater review for all of our permits. We then pass on that charge to the developer of the project that is requiring that review. But this would then authorize us to utilize Dane County for hopefully most of the year, but it's dependent on what projects come through.
Very good. Questions from the committee? Discussion? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to 6B. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-22-22, resolution authorizing the purchase of an email archiving system?
I move approval.
Motion made by Alder Gerhart. And Misty, are you speaking to this resolution as well?
I am.
Go ahead.
So generally, software doesn't come to you for pre-approvals anymore, but this one does for two reasons. One is it's a new software. It's something that was newly approved in the 2022 budget. And then second is when we have a 5-year prepayment, which is what this is proposing, the total cost is $40,000 for all 5 years, which bumps it over that $25,000 threshold. So that's why it's in front of you. What this is it's a new software that will help us with our email archiving, which will allow us to better conform with open records requests and be a more streamlined system there. By prepaying it for the 5 years, we do save 55% over the term. And in conversation with the IT director, he feels that we will need this software for all 5 years and believes that that investment is a good financial choice and operational choice.
And this is something that was approved in the 2022 budget, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Questions from the committee? Seeing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to action item 6C. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-24-22, approving the relocation order and TPP related to reconstruction of Signing Road from Aurora Avenue to McCoy Road?
I move approval.
Okay, motion made by Alder Wheeler. And Misty, are you speaking to this resolution, or Bill?
This one I'd like Bill to handle.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
No problems. This evening, you're looking at a relocation order and a preliminary or a transportation project plat for the Signing Road reconstruction. This is a project that would reconstruct Signing Road between Aurora Avenue, or Aurora Drive, Boulevard, whatever it is over there, all the way up to McCoy Road, and including that intersection up there. The plat would include 16 parcels where there would be temporary grading easements along the corridor, as well as one permanent easement that we would be acquiring for pond area, and then 4 permanent right-of-way acquisition parcels where we would be acquiring for either expanded right-of-way for turn lanes or a pond or stormwater requirements or things like that. So we did include all of the funding for this within the project budget. We do have an estimate of the cost of that, but we're not releasing that quite yet. But we do have an estimate for how much the right-of-way is going to cost. It is included in our budget for the project, and the relocation costs are in there as well for the acquisition specialist.
Very good. Do you know off the top of your head, what that cost is, the right-of-way? The estimated?
I do not have that estimate in front of me, but I can get it to you.
No. I could go into the packet though. So just asking for the moment. Thank you, Bill. Is there questions from the committee?
Bill, just for clarification, even though in this resolution it mentions eminent domain, we are going to first negotiate, correct? Fair
Correct.
price and everything?
Yeah, the process that we use for that would include making an offer to the property owner. The property owner has 60 days to get their own appraisal and counter offer. And then we could make a final jurisdictional offer if the time constraints are there. that we can't, reach a settlement between us, so that we would, do the eminent domain process to acquire the property after that.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or discussion? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you very much, Bill.
You're welcome.
I will then place the motion the resolution to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to item 6D. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-25-22, adopting the 2023 through 2032 Capital Improvement Plan, CIP schedule?
I move approval.
Okay. Motion made by Alder Gerhart. Misty, will you speak to this resolution?
Yes, please. Included in the packet is the proposed schedule for the completion of the CIP process. You guys have all been through this once, so I won't go into like what CIP is or any of that, but the schedule is laid out. In general, it's pretty consistent with what we did last year, which includes council and committee review in June, adoption of the CIP in July, so that it can go into that first draft of the budget to the mayor in August. So there's kind of the first step in this overall process. The one big thing that's different is just how the calendar fell. So June 1st is a Wednesday. So generally, we would have our special finance committee meeting that following Monday, but that's a Board of Public Works meeting night. And because CIP is driven so much by Board of Public Works projects, I didn't think that that conflict made the most sense. So I moved it instead to the Wednesday of that week. It does conflict with the library board meeting that night, but library is a relatively small part of the CIP. I did talk to the library director, and she felt comfortable with me basically representing her at that special meeting for the couple of projects that they do have, and just thought that was a better option than conflicting with the Board of Public Works meeting. So other than that, it's pretty consistent.
Very good. Questions from the committee? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to item 7, announcements. Our next meeting is scheduled for March 8th, 2022. Item 8, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move adjournment.
Motion made by Alder Wheeler. Is there discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor for adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. We are adjourned at 6:14 p.m.